There is something you carry that others can sense the moment you enter a room, a rare aura that only true empaths possess. And Carl Jung's hidden research reveals why this invisible energy makes you both magnetic and vulnerable. Jung discovered that true empaths don't just feel emotions. They radiate what he called the wounded healer frequency, an energetic signature forged through pain, but transformed into something far more powerful. This aura isn't born from natural goodness, but from psychological alchemy that most people never achieve. In his private notes, Jung documented how this rare empathic aura operates on multiple dimensions simultaneously. It can heal others simply through presence, but it also attracts both light and shadow in ways that can either elevate or destroy the empath who carries it. The most shocking part, Jung realized that this aura becomes dangerous when empaths don't understand its true nature. Without conscious awareness, it becomes a beacon for energy vampires while slowly consuming the empath from within. Join me as we descend into Jung's most profound insights about the invisible energy field that surrounds true empaths, and why understanding this rare aura is the difference between being a wounded healer and a sovereign one. Because here's what Jung discovered that modern psychology still refuses to acknowledge. Your empathic aura isn't a gift you were born with. It's a psychological survival mechanism that transformed into something sacred through what I call traumatic alchemy. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But for empaths, becoming who you truly are means first understanding why your nervous system developed this extraordinary sensitivity. It wasn't random, it was adaptive. Think about this from Jung's perspective on psychological development. He observed that empaths often emerged from childhood environments where emotional survival depended on hypervigilance. You learned to read microexpressions before you could read words. You developed radar for emotional danger because your safety depended on anticipating the emotional weather around you. But here's what Jung realized that most therapists miss. This survival mechanism didn't just help you navigate childhood trauma. It literally rewired your brain to operate at frequencies that most people can't access. Your mirror neurons became hyperactive. Your limbic system became extraordinarily responsive. Your entire nervous system became what I call an emotional antenna. Modern neuroscience confirms what Jung intuited decades ago. Dr. Ella Aron's research on highly sensitive person shows that empaths process sensory information more deeply in the brain regions associated with awareness, emotion, and empathy. But Jung understood something deeper. This neurological difference creates an actual energetic field that others can perceive. But that's not the most extraordinary part. The most extraordinary part is how Jung discovered that this empathic aura functions like what he called psychological radar. It doesn't just receive energy, it actively transmutes it through unconscious alchemical processes. Jung observed that when empaths enter a room, they unconsciously begin what I call energetic archaeology. They dig beneath surface presentations to uncover the emotional truth that others are hiding, even from themselves. Your aura literally reads the shadow projections that people carry. Stage 1, the energetic scan. Your empathic aura automatically attunes to what Jung called feeling-toned complexes, the unconscious emotional patterns that drive people's behavior. You sense their unprocessed grief, their hidden rage, their suppressed fear before they've even acknowledged these emotions exist. Stage 2, the unconscious absorption. Because your psyche developed to be permeable for survival reasons, you begin absorbing these energies without conscious choice. Your rare empathic aura creates what Jung called archetypal attraction patterns that draw both healer and vampires with magnetic force. Jung identified that when an empath unconsciously radiates this wounded healer frequency, two archetypes appear almost inevitably. These are individuals who are unconsciously searching for healing, wholeness, or meaning. They feel your presence as a lighthouse in their storm. They are drawn to you because your aura offers them something they cannot find elsewhere: resonance. They don't just see you as kind, they feel you as medicine. But the second archetype is more dangerous. Jung called it the shadow parasite. These are individuals who, rather than being healed by your presence, unconsciously attempt to feed on it. They sense your permeability. They sense that you can absorb what they cannot process, and so they cling, manipulate, or unconsciously drain you. This is why Jung warned that the empath's greatest gift is also their greatest risk. Your aura doesn't discriminate. It attracts both light and darkness, both seekers of healing and predators of energy. Unless you become conscious of this, you will repeat the same draining cycles over and over again. Here's the psychological paradox. Your aura was designed as a survival mechanism, but without awareness, it becomes a prison. You begin living not as a sovereign being, but as an unconscious healer for others. And the more you heal them unconsciously, the more invisible your own needs become. Jung believed that the path out of this paradox was individuation, the process of becoming whole within yourself. For empaths, individuation means learning to regulate your aura instead of being unconsciously ruled by it. It means developing boundaries that aren't walls, but filters. It means shifting from being an emotional sponge to becoming what Jung described as a conscious alchemist. But what does this actually look like? Jung outlined 3 crucial transformations that every empath must undergo to evolve from wounded healer to sovereign healer. Instead of automatically absorbing other people's emotions as if they were your own, you learn to pause, recognize, and reflect. You begin asking, is this mine, or is this theirs? This single question transforms your aura from an unconscious magnet into a conscious mirror. Jung noticed that empaths often become the canvas onto which others project their unacknowledged emotions. People see in you what they deny in themselves. The unconscious person will resent you for carrying their shadow, but the conscious empath learns not to carry it, but to reflect it back with clarity. You no longer absorb, it bounces. You show them who they are without losing yourself. Jung's most radical insight was that the true purpose of the empathic aura isn't to heal others. It's to accelerate your own individuation. The aura is a mirror not just for others, but for yourself. The more you integrate your own shadow, the less your aura is hijacked by the projections of others. You stop being unconsciously defined by your gift, and you start consciously directing it. And this is where the true power of the empath emerges. Because once you become conscious of your aura, it no longer drains you. It becomes what Jung described as a numinous field, a sacred energy that transforms everything it touches without depleting you in the process. But here's the part that most people don't realize. Your empathic aura doesn't just influence individuals, it influences environments. Jung discovered that when empaths enter a space, their aura begins shifting the psychological atmosphere itself. Meetings change, families change, entire social dynamics reconfigure simply because of your presence. This is why you felt exhausted in crowded places. It's not because you're weak, it's because your aura is processing the collective shadow of the room. And unless you've learned to regulate it, you walk away carrying what was never yours to begin with. But Jung's exploration didn't stop with the individual empath. He began to see that the empathic aura is woven into the collective fabric of humanity. He believed that empaths represent what he called a compensatory force within the collective unconscious. When a society becomes too rational, too mechanical, too disconnected from feeling, the collective psyche unconsciously produces individuals who embody the opposite principle. Empaths emerge not by accident, but as a counterbalance to the collective imbalance. Your aura doesn't just serve you or those around you, it serves the evolution of the human psyche itself. This explains why you often feel different from those around you. Jung suggested that empaths live at the edges of collective consciousness. You are like bridges between the known and the unknown, between the rational world and the invisible emotional undercurrents that shape it. Your aura isn't just personal, it's archetypal. But this also explains why the world often misunderstands you, because your very existence exposes what others don't want to see. Jung wrote that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. When you walk into a room, your aura silently reveals those hidden truths. Some people respond with gratitude, others respond with resistance, anger, or projection. And here lies the empath's greatest test. Can you carry this aura without collapsing under its weight? Can you remain sovereign when the world tries to make you the container for what it refuses to process? Jung believed that the answer lied in what he called shadow integration. You see, empaths don't just carry others' shadows, they carry their own. And if you ignore your own shadow, your aura becomes distorted. Instead of reflecting truth, it amplifies illusion. Instead of healing, it enables. Instead of sovereignty, it becomes sacrifice. This is why so many empaths fall into cycles of burnout, toxic relationships, and self-abandonment. They've mistaken martyrdom for compassion. They've mistaken exhaustion for love. They've mistaken absorption for healing. But Jung knew that true compassion begins with boundaries, and true healing begins with integration. This is the practice Jung developed to dialogue with the unconscious. For empaths, it means sitting with the emotions you've absorbed, giving them voice, and discerning which belong to you and which do not. Through this practice, you reclaim your aura as yours, not as a dumping ground for others. Jung understood that the unconscious communicates in symbols. Empaths can use ritual, whether through art, writing, movement, or meditation, to transform absorbed energy into creative expression. This prevents the buildup of unprocessed emotional residue in your field. Jung often retreated to his tower in Bollingen to reconnect with his own psyche. Empaths need the same. Solitude isn't isolation, it's recalibration. It's how you draw your aura back inward, cleanse it, and restore sovereignty. Once you begin practicing these, your aura shifts dramatically. People sense it. They no longer unconsciously project onto you as easily. You stop attracting energy vampires. You start attracting those who are truly aligned with your frequency. But Jung's most profound revelation about the empathic aura was this: it is not merely a burden, it is a seed of transformation, both personal and collective. He believed that empaths are carriers of what he called the unus mundus, the underlying unity of all existence. Your sensitivity is not weakness. It is evidence that you are tuned into the oneness beneath separation. And that is why your presence is both magnetic and dangerous. Magnetic because it reminds people of the wholeness they've forgotten. Dangerous because it threatens the illusions they've built their lives upon. This is the razor's edge Jung invites every empath to walk, to embody your aura consciously, without collapsing into martyrdom or inflating into saviorhood. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding their own depths. They fill their days with noise, distraction, endless activity. But the empath cannot escape the depths, not because you chose them, but because you were born into them. Your aura is a constant reminder of the unseen. It drags the unconscious into the light, whether you want it to or not. Jung saw this not as a curse, but as a summons. He believed empaths are living symbols of what he called the wounded healer archetype. This archetype originates from the ancient myth of Cayce, the healer who could not heal his own wound, but who used that wound to heal others. Jung recognized that empaths carry this same paradox. Your aura was forged in pain. You became hyper-attuned because you had to survive. Yet the very wound that forced you to develop this sensitivity now becomes the channel through which healing flows to others. But here's the paradox that breaks most empaths. When you unconsciously try to heal others as a way to unconsciously heal yourself, you remain trapped. You keep repeating cycles of sacrifice. You attract broken people, thinking that if you fix them, you will finally be whole. Jung called this an unconscious complex, a loop of energy you cannot escape until you bring it into awareness. The moment you see it, everything changes, because you realize your task was never to heal them. Your task was to heal you. And when you do, your aura transforms. It no longer vibrates at the frequency of the wounded healer. It shifts into what Jung described as the archetype of the sovereign. The sovereign empath no longer bleeds unconsciously into others. They no longer confuse sacrifice with love. Instead, they radiate wholeness. And from that wholeness, others are naturally transformed. But what does this sovereignty look like in daily life? Jung's insights reveal it in subtle but profound ways. When you walk into a room, you no longer feel consumed by the emotions around you. Instead, you sense them, but you remain rooted in your own center. When someone projects their shadow onto you, you no longer internalize it. You recognize it, reflect it, and let it return to its source. When people are magnetized to your presence, you no longer confuse their need with your responsibility. You let them walk their path while you protect your own. This is not detachment, it is mastery. And Jung believed this mastery is the empath's true destiny. But here's what makes this so profound. When empaths become sovereign, their aura doesn't shrink, it expands. It becomes luminous, magnetic, transformative. People sense not just comfort, but truth. They feel not just safety, but clarity. And most importantly, you no longer leave drained. You leave environments stronger than when you entered. Yet sovereignty requires one more step Jung emphasized: the integration of your shadow. Because even as an empath, you are not only light. You carry rage, fear, envy, desire. And when you repress these, they leak into your aura in unconscious ways. You become resentful while pretending to be kind. You become controlling while pretending to be helpful. You become exhausted while pretending to be strong. Jung's greatest warning to empaths was this: do not mistake repression for goodness. If you do, your aura will betray you. The only way to purify your aura is not through denial, but through integration. To sit with your anger, to know it, to own it, to face your fear, not as weakness, but as a messenger. To acknowledge your envy, your darkness, your longing, and weave them into wholeness. This is the alchemy Jung spoke of, the transformation of raw psychic material into gold. And for the empath, the aura itself becomes the crucible. It is where the unconscious of the world meets your consciousness, and where you choose